day 54 of the war should have been a day upon which hostilities restarted or there'd been a peace deal. But after 6 delays, President Trump announced a 7th delay and allowed more time for the Iranians to get their documents together for a possible peace conference in Islamabad. That was all welcome, but while that was happening, quite dramatic events were taking place in the Strait of Hormuz themselves. The Euphoria, a ship here marked in green, was trying to run the blockade, going quite a long way north, probably to avoid the minefields, which we think have been sown further south, and was intercepted. But it also intersected with the tracks of 2 other ships, the Epimenides and the Francesca. And both of these ships had their transponders turned off. But as they got near to the point of some sort of interception, they turned their transponders on again, possibly to indicate to the Iranians that they were not the Euphoria that the Iranians were obviously interested in. Nevertheless, both of those other ships, it is now reported, have been captured and taken in to an Iranian port. We're not sure at this stage what has happened to the Euphoria. This is a satellite image of that area. Now, this is broken cloud, that's why it looks slightly odd, but there is the Epimenides, there is the Francesca. And something else, Sky Forensics have spotted this. That looks like a ship, a boat. Much smaller, of course, than the 2 big freighters, and it's got wake behind it. It's moving forward. Quite possibly, we can't prove this, but quite possibly, that is an Iranian gunboat that might have been involved in the seizure of one or both of these ships. All of that is pretty aggressive stuff at a time when we are supposed to be talking about a new peace deal. There's not much the Americans can do about this because their blockade line is between the Pakistani coast and the Omani coast. Most of the American Navy is on this side of the line. And so they're a long way away, a good 150 to 200 miles away from all those things that were happening up here this morning. That is the nature of their blockade. It's a fairly distant blockade, as indeed it has to be. Which leaves us with the question as to whether it is possible that President Trump's assumption about this conflict and the assumptions of people like Ghalibaf, who look as if they're leading the Iranian team, can somehow be reconciled if a meeting takes place, if sometime in the next 2 or 3 days in Islamabad. President Trump says that the Iranians have got no cards in their hand, they've got nothing left. But American intelligence itself, reporting to Congress, has said that Iran retains about 40% of its pre-war arsenal of drones, which were thought to number hundreds of thousands at one point. It has 3,000 missiles at the beginning of the crisis. It's confirmed to have lost 1,000 and might have lost another 1,000. But it's entirely possible that the Iranians have got 1,000 or more ballistic missiles still in existence. And just as important as the missiles are the missile launchers. And the Americans think that upwards of 60% of the missile launchers the Iranians had have been destroyed. They had, we think, about 1,000 launchers to begin with. They may have lost 500 or 600 of them, but it looks as if they've got at least another 100 back into commission, one way or another. If these talks in Islamabad do take place, President Trump thinks he's playing a game of poker. But increasingly, on the evidence of today, the Republican Guard think they're playing a game of Russian roulette. Spin the chamber, gun to the head, click, now it's your turn, Mr. President. They are prepared to play for their very existence. And President Trump is only prepared to play for his political legacy. And they figure that probably they can tolerate more spins at the chamber than President Trump. I guess we'll find out in the next week or two whether they're right.